Back to the kitchen where you belong, ghetto trash. Victoria Sterling slammed the chocolate cake into Maya Washington's face. Frosting exploded. Victoria grabbed Mia's hair, grinding the cake deeper, then kicked Mia's briefcase. Papers scattered across marble. 300 tech executives stared. Phones lifted. The Sterling Industries Gala live stream captured everything. Oops. Victoria wiped her hands on Maya's dress. Should have stayed in your neighborhood. Maya stood silent. Cake dripped from her hair. Navy dress ruined. She checked her Rolex. 10:08 p.m. 7 minutes until the Microsoft signing. The live stream counter spiked. 45,000 viewers climbing fast. Comments flooded Sterling's official Instagram. Victoria had just humiliated the wrong woman on camera. Maya Washington controlled more than Victoria's trust fund. She controlled Victoria's family's survival, but Victoria didn't know that yet. Have you ever been publicly humiliated by someone whose family's fortune depends entirely on your signature? Maya bent to collect her scattered papers. Victoria's heel crushed down on her hand. Don't touch those. Security will handle your fake documents. Victoria's voice carried across the ballroom. Everyone, look what happens when we don't properly screen our events. Heads turned, phones aimed. The Sterling Industries live stream viewer count hit 67,000. Maya straightened slowly, cake still dripping from her chin. She examined her crushed fingers, then looked directly at Victoria. No anger, no tears, just a cold calculation. Ma'am, I understand there's been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Victoria laughed, addressing the crowd. This woman snuck into our private gala, probably planning to steal laptops or network passwords. I've seen this before. They always claim to be invited guests. The word they hung in the air like poison. A tech executive near the bar whispered to his colleague, Jesus, is she really saying this on camera? Marcus Carter, the hotel manager, appeared beside them. His face showed the careful neutrality of someone paid to handle rich people's problems. Ladies, perhaps we could resolve this privately. Nothing private about it, Victoria snapped. I want everyone to see what happens to gate crashers. She grabbed the microphone from the nearby podium. Attention guests, we have a security situation. The ballroom fell silent. 300 faces turned toward them. Maya stood motionless in the center, cake-stained and surrounded. A photographer from TechCrunch lowered his camera, uncomfortable with the scene unfolding. Victoria's voice boomed through speakers. This woman infiltrated our exclusive event. She's clearly not one of us. Just look at her cheap dress and fake confidence. I caught her rifling through confidential documents. Scattered applause rippled through sections of the crowd. Some guests filmed eagerly, hungry for drama. Others shifted uncomfortably, sensing something wrong, but afraid to speak up. The dress is probably stolen, Victoria continued, warming to her audience. And that watch, obviously a knockoff. These people think they can fool us with designer knockoffs. Maya wiped frosting from her eyes. Her gaze found the nearest camera, Sterling's official live stream, and she stared directly into it. The operator, recognizing good television, zoomed in on her unnaturally calm face. The cleaning lady costume is convincing. Victoria pressed on, but we all know where she really belongs. Back in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes, more scattered laughter. Comments on the live stream exploded. OMG, this is savage. Poor woman. Victoria is unhinged. Someone stop this. This is racist AF. Call the police. Maya checked her watch again. 10:10 p.m. 5 minutes until the Microsoft signing ceremony that would determine Sterling Industries' future. Her phone buzzed against her leg. Text message. Maya watching live stream from Seoul. Emergency board call in 3 minutes. The Microsoft deal depends on tonight. J. Sterling. Victoria noticed Maya checking her phone. And there's the proof. Probably coordinating with accomplices outside. Security. 2 unformed guards approached hesitantly. Maya didn't move. She opened her purse slowly, deliberately, and removed a business card. Mr. Carter, she said quietly, handing it to the hotel manager. Perhaps you should verify my credentials before this goes any further. Chen read the card. His eyes widened like he'd been slapped. He looked at Maya, then at Victoria, then back at the card. His professional composure cracked visibly. Victoria snatched the card from his hands. Dr. Maya Washington, Senior Vice President, Microsoft Azure. She laughed so hard she snorted. This is the worst fake I've ever seen. Microsoft executives don't look like her. Several guests gasped audibly. The live stream count hit 89,000 viewers. The comment section became a battlefield. Victoria Sterling is trash. Someone going to get fired. Microsoft is watching. This is about to learn. Maya pulled out her phone despite the spiderweb cracks from Victoria's heel. She showed the screen to Carter, her Microsoft executive badge photo clearly visible along with calendar notifications for tonight's signing. Chen stepped back as if struck by lightning. Miss Sterling, I think perhaps we should. You think what? Victoria's face flushed crimson. That this street trash is actually from Microsoft. Marcus, you're fired if you believe that garbage. Maya spoke calmly. Mr. Carter, could you please call Microsoft's main number and verify Dr. Maya Washington's identity? Despite the cake Miss Sterling put on my face, I believe my voice will be recognizable. Don't you dare, Victoria shrieked. She's playing up this whole cake victim act. But Carter was already dialing, staring at Maya's chocolate-covered but dignified face. The call connected to the speaker. Microsoft Corporation Redmond headquarters. How may I direct your call? Yes, I need to reach Dr. Maya Washington's office, please. Certainly, transferring you to Senior Vice President Washington's executive assistant. Victoria's face was drained of color. This is impossible. She's covered in cake. Dr. Washington's office. This is Jennifer. Maya wiped frosting from her mouth before speaking. Jennifer, this is Dr. Washington. I'm at the Sterling Industries Gala, but I've had an incident involving dessert. Oh my God, drive. Washington, we've been watching the live stream. That woman assaulted you with cake. Should I call the police? The ballroom went silent. Victoria's mouth fell open. Jennifer, are you and the team still watching the Sterling live stream? Yes, ma'am. The whole executive floor is watching. We're absolutely horrified. Legal wants to know if you're pressing charges for the cake assault. Victoria lunged for the phone. That's not. She's lying about the cake. Maya stepped back smoothly, cake still clinging to her hair. Ladies and gentlemen, despite Miss Sterling's creative use of dessert, I am indeed Dr. Maya Washington, Senior Vice President of Microsoft Azure. She held up her sticky phone displaying the Microsoft Executive Portal. The hotel's projector system connected, showing her credentials on massive screens. Maya Washington, Senior Vice President, Microsoft Azure Cloud Services Employee, IDMMW 47291. Authorization level, $5 billion. Contract authority. Current assignment Sterling Industries Partnership 4.2 billion. Status active. Signing scheduled 10:15 p.m. tonight. The live stream exploded past 125,000 viewers. Microsoft exec assaulted with cake. Plot twist of the century. 4 billion karma. She owns Sterling. Victoria stared at the screens. Chocolate evidence still visible on Maya's professional demeanor. But you can't be. You're covered in cake. Ma's voice cut through Victoria's shock like steel. Yes, Miss Sterling. The cake you deliberately smashed into my face on camera in front of 125,000 witnesses. What exactly did you think that would accomplish? 10:13 p.m. 2 minutes until the signing ceremony. Maya Washington, cake covered but unbroken, held all the power. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Victoria's father, Jonathan Sterling, burst through the crowd like a man running from a burning building. Victoria, what the hell is happening here? His eyes swept the scene. Maya covered in chocolate cake, phones recording from every angle, his daughter holding a microphone like a weapon. Victoria spun toward him, relief flooding her face. Daddy, perfect timing. This woman crashed our gala. And now she's pretending to work for Microsoft. I handled the situation with some dessert. Jonathan's gaze fixed on Maya's cake-covered state, then shifted to the massive screens still displaying her credentials. His face went ashen. Oh, God, Victoria, what have you done? I protected our event. Victoria's voice climbed higher. She was obviously a fraud, so I gave her a little cake to go with her performance. Everyone laughed. A voice from the crowd called out. Nobody was laughing when you smashed that cake in her face. Victoria whirled around. Shut up. You don't know what you saw. Maya stood perfectly still, letting chocolate drip from her hair onto her ruined dress. She wiped frosting from her cheek with deliberate slowness, ensuring every camera caught the evidence. Jonathan recognized Maya from months of video conferences. His voice came out as a strangled whisper. "Miss Washington, I am so incredibly sorry." "Sorry?" Victoria shrieked. "Sorry for what, Daddy? She's covered in cake. Look at her. She's obviously not executive material." The live stream viewer count hit 145,000. Comments flooded in faster than the eye could follow. "Daddy doesn't know. Jonathan Sterling looks sick. She assaulted a Microsoft exec. Sterling Industries is done." Jonathan grabbed Victoria's arm. "Stop talking right now." "I will not stop." Victoria yanked free, cake residue still under her fingernails. "I refuse to be intimidated by some cake-covered con artist." Maya's phone buzzed. She answered the speaker, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom despite the cake in her hair. "Hello, Satya." Even Victoria recognized the name Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. "Maya, the entire board is watching this live stream. Are you safe? Do you need medical attention after the cake assault?" Victoria's face went white. That's impossible." Maya's voice remained steady. "I'm fine, Satya. Just wearing some unexpected dessert courtesy of Miss Sterling." The cake attack is trending globally. Legal wants to pursue assault charges. But Maya, the choice is yours. Do we proceed with Sterling Industries tonight, or do we activate the termination clause? The ballroom held its breath. 145,000 viewers waited. Jonathan Sterling looked like he might vomit. Victoria grabbed the phone. "This is fake. She hired actors. Look at her. She's covered in chocolate." Maya calmly retrieved her phone. "Satya, I'll call you back in 2 minutes with my decision." The line went dead. Silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Security Chief Ramon Martinez approached cautiously. He'd been watching from the back, taking notes. "Miss Sterling, I've reviewed our security footage. You clearly assaulted this woman with cake, then stepped on her hand and kicked her briefcase." "She attacked me first." Victoria's lie came out desperate and shrill. Martinez held up his tablet, showing the video. "Ma'am, you approached her. You threw the cake. You grabbed her hair and smeared more frosting on her face. Then you kicked her belongings. This is assault recorded from 6 different angles." The crowd pressed closer, phones capturing Victoria's meltdown. Maya continued wiping cake from her face, each movement deliberate and damning. Victoria's voice cracked. "But she doesn't belong here. Look at her. She's covered in chocolate like what?" Maya's question cut through the air like ice. Victoria's mouth opened and closed. The words she wanted to say would destroy her completely. Jonathan tried damage control. "Maya, please, let's discuss this privately." Victoria was clearly intoxicated. "I am not drunk." Victoria spun on her father. "I'm the only one here with sense. She's obviously a fraud covered in cake." A hotel wait staff member stepped forward nervously. "Excuse me, but I saw everything. Miss Sterling took the cake from our dessert station and deliberately threw it at this lady's face. Then she laughed and said something about her knowing her place." "Shut up," Victoria snarled. "Nobody asked you." More witnesses emerged from the crowd. "I filmed the whole cake attack on my phone," she said. "Back to the kitchen where you belong." Before throwing it. She called her ghetto trash right at the beginning. She grabbed her hair and smeared more cake after the initial throw. Each testimony hammered another nail in Victoria's coffin. Maya stood in the center, cake covered, but dignified, letting the evidence speak. Victoria's desperation reached fever pitch. "You're all lying. She planned this. She probably brought a fake cake to frame me." The absurdity of her claim drew nervous laughter from the crowd. Maya checked her watch through sticky frosting. 10:14 p.m. 1 minute until the signing deadline. Jonathan fell to his knees in front of Maya, his $3,000 suit hitting the marble floor. "Please, Dr. Washington, I'll fire Victoria immediately. I'll give you anything you want. Just don't destroy 12,000 jobs because my daughter threw a cake at you." "Daddy, get up," Victoria screamed. "Don't beg for this cake-covered nobody." The live stream exploded past 160,000 viewers. The comments became a waterfall. CEOONHISKNES. Victoria still doesn't get it. 12,000 jobs on the line. Cake karma is real. Maya looked down at Jonathan Sterling, then at Victoria, who was still covered in cake, evidence of her own cruelty. "Mr. Sterling, your daughter didn't just assault me with cake. She did it while calling me ghetto trash and telling me to go back to the kitchen where I belong. All recorded, all witnessed, all trending globally right now." Victoria's face contorted with rage. "I never said that. These people are lying." "Victoria." Jonathan's voice thundered. "Every word is on video." Maya's phone rang again. She answered the speaker. "Maya, this is Jennifer from your office. The Microsoft board has made a decision. Given the racist cake assault captured on live stream, we're implementing Protocol 7. Victoria didn't know what Protocol 7 meant, but Jonathan's face went gray. Maya's voice carried across the ballroom. "Are you certain about Protocol 7? "Yes, ma'am. The cake attack has been viewed over 2 million times in the last 10 minutes. Microsoft cannot be associated with this level of public racism and desert assault. Protocol 7 is active unless you override." Maya looked at Victoria, who was still wiping cake residue from her own hands. "What's Protocol 7? Victoria demanded, chocolate crumbs falling from her hair as she shook her head. Maya's smile was cold as winter. "Complete termination of all Microsoft partnerships with Sterling Industries, effective immediately, plus a 5-year industry blacklist preventing you from contracting with any Microsoft partner company." The color drained from Victoria's face. But you can't do that over a little cake incident." "A little cake incident?" Maya's voice rose for the first time all night. "You assaulted me with racist slurs, smashed cake into my face, stepped on my hand, kicked my briefcase, and then spent 20 minutes trying to humiliate me further. All while I was here to sign a $4.2 billion deal that would save your family's company." Victoria stared at her, cake evidence still visible on both their clothes. The magnitude finally hit her. I didn't know you were important," she whispered. Maya wiped the last of the frosting from her face. "Important? You didn't know I was human. The cake attack would have been wrong regardless of who I was." A tech journalist from Bloomberg pushed forward. "Dr. Washington, will Microsoft pursue criminal charges for the cake assault?" Before Maya could answer, Victoria exploded. "Criminal charges over cake? This is insane." Security Chief Martinez stepped forward. "Miss Sterling, assault is assault. The medium doesn't matter. You attacked her with food, grabbed her hair, and caused deliberate humiliation. That's a battery under California law." The live stream comments went wild. "Criminal charges for cake attack. Victoria going to jail. Felony assault with dessert. Rich girl prison time. Victoria's last desperate gambit. Daddy, buy Microsoft. Then we can fire her." Jonathan Sterling closed his eyes in defeat. "Victoria, Microsoft is worth $3 trillion. We're worth $1.8 billion. And after tonight, probably much less." The reality finally penetrated Victoria's privilege bubble. She had cake attacked someone with the power to destroy her family's legacy. Maya's voice carried across the silent ballroom. "Miss Sterling, when you smashed that cake into my face, what exactly did you think would happen?" I thought it was funny." Victoria's voice came out small and broken. "Funny?" Maya's composure finally cracked slightly. "You found racist assault funny? You enjoyed humiliating someone you thought was powerless?" Victoria stared at the chocolate still clinging to Maya's hair, the evidence of her cruelty impossible to deny. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Maya wiped cake from her cheek one final time, the gesture deliberate and damning. "Miss Sterling, intention doesn't erase impact. Your cake attack wasn't an accident. Your racist words weren't mistakes, and my response won't be either." The crowd waited for judgment. The live stream reached 180,000 viewers. Media outlets worldwide picked up the story. Heiress assaults Microsoft executive with cake at Gala. Maya Washington dignified despite the chocolate evidence of Victoria's hatred held the future of Sterling Industries in her cake-covered hands. The clock struck 10:16 p.m. The signing deadline had passed. Time for consequences. Maya Washington stood in the center of the ballroom, chocolate cake still clinging to her hair, and reached into her briefcase. The same briefcase Victoria had kicked across the marble floor. "Before I make my final decision about Sterling Industries," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, "I think everyone should understand exactly what Miss Sterling destroyed tonight." She pulled out a thick contract bound in blue leather. Cake crumbs fell from the cover as she opened it. This is the Microsoft Sterling Partnership Agreement valued at $4.2 billion over 3 years. Maya held it up for the cameras. I came here tonight with full authorization to sign this contract and save Sterling Industries from bankruptcy. The live stream exploded to 200,000 viewers. Comments flooded faster than the system could display. $4.2 billion contract. She came to save them. Victoria destroyed her own family. Cake attack cost $4 billion. Victoria's face went white as fresh snow. That's impossible. You're covered in cake. You can't be. Maya turned to the second page, showing detailed financial projections despite chocolate fingerprints on the edges. Sterling Industries' current debt $2.1 billion. Annual revenue declining 23% year over year. Without this Microsoft partnership, you'll be in bankruptcy within 18 months. Jonathan Sterling's knees buckled. He gripped a nearby chair for support. This contract, Maya continued, cake still dripping from her chin, would have provided Sterling Industries with guaranteed revenue streams, technology licensing agreements, and most importantly, legitimacy in the cloud computing space. She flipped to a page marked with yellow highlights. The signing was scheduled for exactly 10:15 p.m. tonight. It is now 10:17 p.m. Per the terms of this agreement, failure to execute by the deadline voids all negotiations. Victoria lunged forward. But you can still sign it. Just sign it. Maya stepped back, protecting the contract from Victoria's grasping hands. Miss Sterling, you assaulted the signatory. You covered me in cake while calling me racial slurs in front of 200,000 witnesses. She turned to address the crowd directly. What none of you knew, what Miss Sterling couldn't have known when she decided to attack me with dessert, is that I've been working on this Sterling partnership for 8 months. Maya pulled out her phone, the cracked screen still functional despite the earlier assault. I have over 300 emails between myself and Mr. Sterling, thousands of hours of preparation, teams of lawyers and accountants working around the clock. The ballroom was dead silent, except for the soft clicking of cameras and phones. I flew from Seattle specifically for tonight's signing. I've been staying at this hotel for 3 days, finalizing details. Maya's voice carried a weight that made everyone lean in. Miss Sterling destroyed months of work with a single cake. Victoria's father tried to speak. Maya, surely we can. There's more. Maya interrupted. She reached back into her briefcase and pulled out a second document. This is Sterling Industries' financial audit completed last week by our due diligence team. She opened a page marked critical findings in red ink. Your company is in worse shape than you've disclosed publicly. The Microsoft partnership wasn't just an opportunity. It was your last lifeline. Jonathan Sterling's face went gray. How could you possibly know? Because, Mr. Sterling, Microsoft doesn't sign $4.2 billion contracts without extensive background checks. Maya flipped through pages of financial analysis, each one damning. Your accounts receivable are inflated by 31%. Your cloud infrastructure is 7 years behind industry standards. 3 of your major clients are planning to terminate contracts within 6 months. The live stream comments went insane. Sterling is bankrupt. Financial fraud exposed. Maya did her homework. Victoria killed a dead company. Victoria stared at the documents. Cake residue still under her fingernails. But we're successful. Daddy's company is worth billions. On paper, Maya said quietly. In reality, Sterling Industries is a house of cards. This Microsoft partnership was the only thing standing between your family and complete financial ruin. She turned to face Victoria directly, chocolate still visible in her hair, but her dignity intact. When you smashed that cake into my face, Miss Sterling, you weren't just assaulting a Microsoft executive. You were destroying your family's future with your bare hands. Victoria's voice came out as a whisper. I didn't know. You didn't know because you never bothered to learn, Maya replied. You inherited privilege but never developed judgment. You gained wealth but never earned wisdom. Maya pulled out a final document. This one pristine, untouched by cake. This is Microsoft's alternative partnership list. 12 companies are ready to accept a $4.20 $2 billion cloud infrastructure deal. She held it up for the cameras. Cloud Tech Solutions, Data Flow Industries, Skybridge Systems, all of them have been waiting for exactly this opportunity. Jonathan Sterling fell into a chair, the weight of realization crushing him. You're going to sign with someone else. I'm going to sign with a company whose executives don't assault people with dessert, Maya confirmed. A company whose leadership understands basic human decency. Victoria's last desperate attempt. But you can't judge our whole company by what I did. I'm just one person. Maya looked at her with something approaching pity. Miss Sterling, you're not just one person. You're the CEO's daughter. You represent Sterling Industries' values and culture. And tonight you showed the world exactly what those values are. She gestured to the chocolate still staining both their clothes. You attacked me with cake because you thought I was powerless. You called me racial slurs because you thought I was beneath you. You tried to humiliate me because you thought there would be no consequences. The ballroom held its breath. 200,000 viewers waited. But Miss Sterling, there are always consequences, and sometimes they cost $4.2 billion. Maya closed the contract and returned it to her briefcase. The sound of the clasp clicking shut echoed like a gunshot. The Microsoft-Sterling partnership is officially terminated. Sterling Industries will receive formal notification within 24 hours. Victoria collapsed into a chair, the full magnitude finally hitting her. She had destroyed her family's empire with a single cake. Maya pulled out her phone and dialed. Hello, Sarah. This is Maya. Please draft the Cloud Tech Solutions Partnership Agreement. Yes, same terms as Sterling. We'll sign tomorrow at 2 p.m. She hung up and looked at Victoria one last time. Miss Sterling, I hope that cake was worth $4.20 $2 billion because that's exactly what it cost your family. The live stream reached 220,000 viewers. News outlets worldwide picked up the story. Financial markets prepared for Sterling Industries' collapse. Maya Washington, cake covered, but victorious, had just delivered the most expensive karma in corporate history. Victoria stared at her chocolate-stained hands, the remnants of the cake that had destroyed everything. The ballroom erupted in chaos as reporters rushed forward with questions, but Maya was already walking toward the exit, leaving Sterling Industries and Victoria's privilege in ruins behind her. The twist was complete. The cake assault had revealed not just racism, but the destruction of a $4.2 billion empire, and it was all captured on camera for the world to see. Maya paused at the ballroom exit and turned back one final time. Her voice carried over the chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, let this be a lesson. Character isn't revealed in boardrooms or balance sheets. It's revealed in moments like these when people think no one important is watching. She touched the cake still clinging to her hair. Tonight, Miss Sterling showed her true character, and in doing so, she lost everything her family spent decades building. The crowd stood in stunned silence as Maya Washington walked out, leaving behind the ruins of Sterling Industries and the most expensive piece of cake in history. Victoria sat motionless, staring at her hands, finally understanding that actions have consequences, even for the privileged. Especially for the privileged. Maya paused at the ballroom exit, her hand on the door handle. The chocolate cake still clung to her hair, but her voice carried absolute authority when she spoke. Actually, before I leave, I think Sterling Industries deserves to understand the full scope of what Miss Sterling's cake attack has cost them. She turned back to face the crowd, briefcase in hand. The live stream viewer count hit 250,000 as word spread across social media. Mr. Sterling, would you like to know the precise financial impact of your daughter's dessert assault? Jonathan Sterling looked up from his chair, his face the color of ash. Maya, please. Maya opened her briefcase and pulled out a calculator and several documents. The crowd pressed closer, sensing something monumental about to unfold. Let's calculate this together, shall we? Maya's voice was clinical, professional. The Microsoft partnership, $4.2 billion over 3 years. Average annual value $1.4 billion. She punched numbers into the calculator. Cake crumbs falling onto the device's surface. Sterling Industries' current annual revenue $1.8 billion. The Microsoft deal would have increased your revenue by 78% immediately. Victoria watched in horror as Maya continued her devastating financial autopsy. Your current debt servicing costs $180 million annually. The Microsoft partnership would have reduced that to $75 million through improved cash flow and credibility with lenders. Maya turned to address the live stream cameras directly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not just talking about lost revenue. We're talking about the domino effect of Miss Sterling's cake attack. She pulled out a financial projection chart, somehow still legible despite chocolate fingerprints along the edges. Without the Microsoft deal, Sterling Industries will default on their Deutsche Bank loan within 6 months. Default triggers acceleration clauses on $1.2 billion in additional debt. The mathematical precision of the destruction was breathtaking. Victoria had literally thrown cake at a $4.2 billion solution to her family's problems. But wait, Maya said, her voice carrying dark humor. There's more. She displayed another document. Sterling Industries has 847 employees in their cloud computing division. Average salary, $95,000. Total annual payroll $80.5 million. Maya's finger traced down the page. Without the Microsoft partnership, this entire division becomes redundant. 847 people will lose their jobs because Miss Sterling decided to redecorate my face with chocolate. The ballroom went dead silent. The weight of those jobs, those families, those futures, all destroyed by a single moment of racist cake violence. Victoria's voice came out as a broken whisper. But you could still save them. You could still sign. Maya looked at her with cold professionalism. Miss Sterling, you assaulted a Microsoft executive on camera. You committed a hate crime that's been viewed by 250,000 people. Microsoft's legal department is currently reviewing options for both criminal and civil prosecution. She pulled out her phone and showed a screenshot of Microsoft's official Twitter account at Microsoft. Microsoft Corporation condemns the racist assault on our senior VP at Maya Washington at tonight's Sterling Industries event. We are reviewing all partnership agreements with immediate effect. Zero tolerance. The tweet had 89,000 retweets in 20 minutes. Your cake attack didn't just cost Sterling Industries money, Miss Sterling. It cost you Microsoft's trust, respect, and partnership forever. Maya turned to Jonathan Sterling. Sir, I've worked in corporate partnerships for 15 years. I've never seen a deal this large destroyed so quickly or so completely. She opened another file. Would you like to know what your options are now? Jonathan nodded wordlessly, a broken man watching his empire crumble. Option 1, bankruptcy. File. Chapter 11, within 60 days. Liquidate assets. Terminate all employees. Your lifetime of work becomes worthless. Maya flipped to the next page. Option 2, hostile takeover. Your competitors circle like vultures. They'll buy Sterling Industries for pennies on the dollar and strip it for parts. Victoria's voice cracked. There has to be another option. Option 3, Maya continued relentlessly. Sell to Cloud Tech Solutions, Microsoft's new partner, for approximately $200 million. That's 89% less than Sterling Industries was worth this morning before your daughter's cake assault. The numbers were devastating. Victoria had cost her family not just $4.2 billion in partnership revenue, but $1.6 billion in company value. Maya pulled out a final document that made Jonathan Sterling go pale. This is Sterling Industries' stock performance since our live stream began. She showed a graph with a red line plummeting like a cliff, down 67% in after-hours trading. Market cap decreased from $2.1 billion to $694 million. The chocolate evidence of Victoria's attack still clung to Maya's hair as she delivered the financial death blow. Miss Sterling, your cake assault has cost your family approximately $1.4 billion in market value in less than 1 hour. Victoria stared at the numbers, the magnitude finally penetrating her privileged bubble. I didn't know it would. You didn't know because you never bothered to think, Maya replied sharply. You saw someone you thought was powerless and decided to humiliate them with dessert. You never considered that actions have consequences. Maya addressed the crowd one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what institutional racism costs. Not just dignity, not just feelings, real money, real jobs, real futures. She gestured to the chocolate still staining both their clothes. Miss Sterling threw a cake at someone she thought didn't matter. Instead, she threw away her family's entire legacy. The live stream comments exploded. $1 billion cake attack, most expensive racism ever. Sterling Industries destroyed. Victoria bankrupted her family. Maya picked up her phone and dialed a number on speaker. Cloud Tech Solutions. This is Dr. Maya Washington from Microsoft. Are you still interested in a $4.2 billion partnership? Absolutely, Dr. Washington. We can sign tomorrow if you'd like. Perfect. Sterling Industries just became available for acquisition. Interested. How much? Maya looked directly at Victoria as she answered, about $200 million. Significant discount due to management issues. Victoria collapsed completely, the full weight of her destruction finally hitting her. She had cost her family everything for a moment of racist satisfaction. Maya hung up and addressed Jonathan Sterling directly. Sir, Cloudtech will make you an offer by tomorrow noon. I suggest you take it. It's the only way to save any jobs at all. She closed her briefcase, the same one Victoria had kicked across the floor in her arrogance. The Microsoft-Sterling partnership is permanently terminated. The Sterling Industries acquisition by Cloudtech Solutions will proceed with Microsoft's full support. Maya wiped a final piece of cake from her cheek. Miss Sterling, I hope you enjoyed throwing that dessert because it just cost your family a billion-dollar empire. The ballroom erupted as reporters surged forward with questions. Security moved to escort Mia safely through the crowd. As she reached the exit, Mia turned back one last time. Her voice carried over the chaos. To everyone watching this live stream, character matters, dignity matters, and treating people with basic human respect matters more than you might think. She touched the chocolate still clinging to her hair. Because sometimes a moment of hatred costs everything you've spent a lifetime building. Maya Washington walked out of the ballroom, leaving behind the ruins of Sterling Industries and a lesson the business world would never forget. Victoria sat motionless, surrounded by the wreckage of her family's fortune, finally understanding that some cake attacks cost more than $4.2 billion. They cost everything. The live stream reached 275,000 viewers as the most expensive moment of racism in corporate history came to its devastating conclusion. Maya's dignity had proven more valuable than Victoria's privilege, and the chocolate evidence of that truth was still visible in both their hair. Outside the ballroom, Mia paused to address the media scrum that had formed. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions about the Sterling Industries collapse. Dr. Washington, will Microsoft pursue criminal charges? Will you personally sue Victoria Sterling? How does it feel to destroy a billion-dollar company? Maya raised her hand for silence, cake still visible in her dark hair under the hotel's bright lights. I didn't destroy Sterling Industries. Miss Sterling destroyed it when she chose hatred over humanity. I simply revealed the consequences. A CNN reporter pushed forward. Dr. Washington, some are calling this the most expensive racist incident in corporate history. Your response? Maya's smile was cold but professional. Racism always has a price. Usually that price is paid by the victims. Tonight, for once, it was paid by the perpetrator. She gestured toward the ballroom where Victoria could be seen through the glass doors, still covered in evidence of her own cruelty. Miss Sterling thought she could humiliate someone without consequences. She learned that in corporate America, character matters more than privilege. What's next for the 847 Sterling Industries employees who will lose their jobs? Maya's expression softened slightly. Cloudtech Solutions has committed to retaining 90% of Sterling's workforce. The innocent shouldn't suffer for their leadership's failures. A final question came from the back. Any message for Victoria Sterling? Maya paused, touching the chocolate still clinging to her hair. Yes, next time you want to throw a cake at someone, make sure it's not the person holding your family's future in their hands. She walked toward the hotel exit, leaving behind the most expensive dessert disaster in business history. The final tally: one cake, one racist attack, $4.2 billion in lost partnerships, $1.4 billion in market value destroyed, $847 jobs hanging in the balance. And Maya Washington, dignity intact, despite the chocolate evidence, had proven that sometimes justice comes with frosting on top. As Maya reached her hotel room, she finally allowed herself a moment to process what had happened. She looked in the mirror at the cake, still clinging to her hair, evidence of Victoria's hatred that had ultimately become proof of her own strength. Her phone buzzed with a text from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Maya, the board stands behind you 100%. Take tomorrow off. You've earned it. Another message from her mother. Saw the live stream, baby. Proud of how you handled yourself. That girl learned not to mess with Washington. Maya smiled, finally ready to wash the chocolate from her hair. Victoria's cake attack had backfired spectacularly, destroying everything the Sterling family had built while elevating Maya to corporate legend status. Tomorrow, Cloud Tech Solutions would sign the $4.2 billion deal Sterling Industries had lost. The 847 employees would keep their jobs under better leadership, and Victoria Sterling would learn that privilege without character is worthless. As Maya stepped into the shower, watching chocolate cake swirl down the drain, she reflected on the night's events. Sometimes the most expensive lessons in life come from the smallest acts of cruelty, and sometimes justice tastes like chocolate. 48 hours after the cake attack, the Sterling Industries boardroom was unrecognizable. Gone were the family portraits and corporate awards. In their place sat boxes marked liquidation and Cloud Tech acquisition. Victoria Sterling sat in handcuffs across from Detective Maria Rodriguez. Chocolate cake evidence still fresh in everyone's memory despite having been cleaned from her hair days ago. Miss Sterling, you're being charged with assault under California Penal Code 240, battery under Penal Code 242, and civil rights violations under the UNRE Civil Rights Act. Detective Rodriguez read from her report. The cake assault on Dr. Washington was captured by over 275,000 live stream viewers and constitutes a hate crime. Victoria's lawyer leaned forward. Detective, surely we can resolve this without criminal charges. It was just cake. Just cake. Rodriguez's eyebrow raised. That just cake attack cost Sterling Industries $4.22 billion, destroyed 847 jobs, and was accompanied by racial slurs witnessed by 250,000 people. Victoria stared at her hands, the same hands that had smashed chocolate into Maya's face. I didn't know she was important. Miss Sterling, Detective Rodriguez replied coldly. Assault is illegal regardless of the victim's job title. Your cake attack would have been wrong if Dr. Washington was a janitor or a CEO. The immediate consequences. By noon that day, the corporate fallout was complete. Victoria Sterling's personal losses arrested on 3 felony charges stemming from the cake assault. $85 million trust fund frozen pending civil litigation banned from all Sterling Industries properties. Social media accounts suspended for hate speech. Enrolled in court-mandated bias training, 500 hours minimum. Sterling Industries corporate consequences: stock price down 89% from pre-cake attack levels. Cloud Tech Solutions acquisition completed for $180 million, 94% below original value. 847 employees transferred to Cloud Tech with salary protection. Jonathan Sterling resigned as CEO, effective immediately. Company headquarters sold to cover remaining debts. Legal and financial aftermath. Microsoft filed $50 million civil lawsuit for reputational damage. Hotel employees union filed discrimination complaint. California Attorney General opened hate crime investigation, FBI reviewing potential federal civil rights violations. The systematic changes. Maya Washington stood in Cloud Tech Solutions' new conference room, addressing the former Sterling Industries employees. The memory of Victoria's cake attack motivated every word. When someone threw a cake at me while calling me racial slurs, they weren't just attacking me personally. They were attacking the dignity of every person in this room who's ever been judged by their appearance rather than their abilities. She clicked to her first slide. Zero tolerance policy. No exceptions. Cloud Tech Solutions has implemented the most comprehensive anti-discrimination protocols in the tech industry. Any employee who commits assault, whether with cake, words, or weapons, faces immediate termination and criminal prosecution. Maya advanced to the next slide. The Sterling Standard. Victoria Sterling's cake attack taught us that bias training isn't enough. We need systems that prevent discrimination before it happens. New policies implemented. 1. Real-time monitoring system. AI-powered analysis of all internal communications. Anonymous reporting app with guaranteed 24-hour response. Quarterly bias audits by independent firms. Zero tolerance for any form of assault or harassment. 2. Executive accountability. Leadership bonuses tied to diversity metrics. Mandatory implicit bias. Training for all executives. Public diversity reporting every 6 months. Board oversight committee with 60%. Minority representation. 3. Employee protection. $10 million victim support fund. Legal assistance for discrimination cases. Career protection for whistleblowers. Mental health counseling for trauma survivors. Maya addressed the audience directly. Miss Sterling thought she could humiliate someone without consequences. Instead, her cake attack created the strongest anti-discrimination policies in corporate America. The industry ripple effect. Within weeks, the Sterling standard spread across Silicon Valley. Microsoft's response: mandatory diversity compliance for all partnerships worth over $100 million. Public partner scorecards rating companies on inclusion metrics. $250 million fund for minority-owned tech businesses. Annual Maya Washington Excellence in Diversity Award established other tech giants. Google implemented similar monitoring systems. Apple created anonymous assault reporting protocols. Amazon required bias training for all executives. Facebook developed AI discrimination detection tools. Business schools. Harvard Business School added the Sterling case to required curriculum. Stanford created ethics course around the cake assault incident. Wharton developed character in leadership program. MIT studied the financial cost of workplace discrimination. Victoria's forced transformation. 6 months after the cake attack, Victoria Sterling stood before Judge Patricia Carter for sentencing. Miss Sterling, your assault on Dr. Washington with cake and racial slurs caused $4.2 billion in economic damage and destroyed hundreds of careers. However, I'm impressed by your progress in court-mandated counseling. Victoria's voice was barely audible. Your Honor, I can't undo the cake I threw or the words I said, but I've spent every day since learning why I was so wrong. Judge Carter reviewed the probation report. 500 hours of bias education completed, 1,000 hours of community service at minority-owned businesses, public speaking at diversity conferences. Miss Sterling, you will serve 18 months in county jail, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. You're permanently banned from executive positions in any public company. As Victoria was led away in handcuffs, she looked back at the gallery where Maya Washington sat watching. Dr. Washington, I'm sorry that isn't enough, but I'll spend the rest of my life proving that the cake attack taught me to be better. Maya nodded once, not forgiveness, but acknowledgement that growth was possible. The broader message. Maya's final interview aired on 60 Minutes, watched by 15 million viewers. Anderson, people ask me if I regret not pressing criminal charges harder against Victoria Sterling. But here's what I learned. Destroying her completely wouldn't have changed the system that created her. Anderson Cooper leaned forward. So the cake attack, in your view, served a larger purpose. Maya touched her hair unconsciously, a habit developed since the assault. Victoria's cake attack revealed how deeply racism is embedded in corporate culture. One person's moment of hatred exposed an entire system that needed reform. What would you say to other executives who might face similar discrimination? Maya's smile was steel wrapped in silk. Document everything. Stay professional and remember your dignity is more powerful than their prejudice. Sometimes the person who throws cake at you ends up serving you justice on a silver platter. The final tally. 1 year after the cake attack, Victoria Sterling serving jail time, $50 million in civil judgments. Career destroyed. Sterling Industries liquidated, assets sold, legacy erased. Maya Washington promoted to Microsoft Executive VP, named Time Person of the Year. 847 employees kept their jobs under cloud tech with 15% salary increases. The industry transformed. By the Sterling standard anti-discrimination policies, Maya Washington had proven that sometimes the sweetest revenge is watching your attacker's cake assault become their own downfall. And the chocolate evidence of Victoria's hatred had been replaced by lasting institutional change. Justice, it turned out, was better than cake. 2 years later, Maya Washington stood at the Global Diversity Summit podium facing 5,000 corporate executives. Behind her, the infamous image Victoria Sterling mid-cake throw. This photograph changed everything, Maya began. Not because of what it shows, but because of what it revealed. The legacy. Since Victoria's cake attack, the transformation has been extraordinary. 847 companies adopted Sterling standard anti-discrimination policies. $2.80, $8 billion invested in bias prevention systems industry-wide, 67% drop in workplace discrimination complaints. Victoria Sterling served 18 months jail, now works as unpaid diversity counselor. Jonathan Sterling lost his fortune, became ethics consultant. Maya Washington, promoted to Microsoft Chief Diversity Officer, earned $50 million. Personal reflection. People ask if I've forgiven Victoria for that cake assault, Maya continued. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about transforming pain into purpose. Maya's voice carried quiet strength. Victoria's cake attack taught me that dignity isn't about never being knocked down. It's about how you rise and what you build while standing back up. Values summarized. That chocolate cake taught America 4 lessons. Character matters more than capital. Victoria had $85 million but zero integrity. Her wealth couldn't save her from cake attack consequences. Dignity is undefeatable. Covered in chocolate, I chose strategy over anger. It changed everything. Privilege without purpose is dangerous. Victoria's inherited wealth created an entitled person who assaulted others with dessert. Justice takes time, but always comes. Her cake attack seemed triumphant. 2 years later, she's in counseling while I'm changing corporate America. The continuing impact. Victoria Sterling's moment of hatred became humanity's moment of growth. Her cake attack was meant to humiliate one person. Instead, it elevated millions. Time. Call to action. Maya stepped closer, her voice commanding yet intimate. I want you to do 3 things today. Share your story. Have you witnessed workplace discrimination? Someone being attacked with words or actions? Comment below. Your voice could help others find courage. Spread this message. If this story inspired you, share it. Every share challenges someone to examine their biases. Every view reminds people that actions have consequences. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories. We're building a community committed to dignity over privilege. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell for more stories of quiet strength defeating loud ignorance. Final inspiration. Maya's closing words resonated through the silent auditorium. 2 years ago, Victoria threw cake at my face because she thought I was powerless. She was wrong about my power, but right about one thing. I was covered in chocolate. The difference: she wore hatred on her hands. I wore her attack with dignity. When the cameras stopped rolling and the cake was cleaned off, only one of us was left standing. Maya smiled, touching her hair unconsciously, a habit from that night. Sometimes the sweetest victory comes from the sourest moment. Victoria's cake attack taught her about consequences, taught me about strength, and taught America that dignity always defeats dessert.